Everybody, I was looking forward to doing this book review. It's one I was very keen to explore with you. And today we're going to do the book on Sir John Monash, the outsider who won a war. Now, I was keen to do this for two reasons. Firstly, as a paid political announcement, Roland, the author, is one of my closest and dearest friends. I would argue he's one of Australia's foremost historians and storytellers, and if you ever get an opportunity to read his work, I strongly recommend you do it. He's written enormously on Bradman, cricket, but I regard one of his best works is on Sir John Monash. The other reason I was keen to do this review is that the name of our company, Combined Arms Consulting, is a direct result of Monash's planning and insight. Combined Arms, from Sir John Monash's perspective, was the capacity to integrate all elements of the military asset base. So in other words, you could have army, so you could have infantry, gas, artillery, tanks, aircraft. In the First World War, people didn't know how to integrate those. But Monash was able to do it, and he brought it in together where he was able, in the Battle of Hamel, to basically create what was regarded as the world's first modern battle. It was then adopted in the Battle of Amiens, where two German armies were destroyed, led largely by Australian and Canadian troops under Monash's tutelage. So what's this got to do with leadership and management in today's world? Well, what's interesting is over 110 years ago now that very model of integrated arms is now regarded as the common keystone of all modern armies. And also, if you think about it, one of the important components of leadership and management in the corporate space is the integration of all elements. Now, that's self-evident. But how did Monash do it? What was his magic formula, his secret herbs and spices? Well, he had a number of what could be perceived as impediments. He was literally an outsider. He was a colonial, an amateur, an educated man or a Renaissance individual, as Roland would put it. He was also Jewish. So all these were factors that were actually, on the surface, problematic for him. But as an outsider, he was able to take an existential view of the challenge at hand. And isn't that the role of a leader? He was incredible in terms of his capacity to bring together different parts, his capacity to communicate effectively, and his broad spectrum from an educational perspective and an experiential and experience base. He was challenged in the early days at Gallipoli, but was able to understand what the core challenges were, to eventually become, according to Bernard Montgomery, the famed general of the Desert Rats, the greatest general of the First World War. So what are the lessons we can learn by looking at Monash's life and his experience base? As leaders, we've got to be able to take literally an existential view of the challenges. We've got to expose ourselves to an eclectic range of disciplines and understand the diversity. We've also got to be able to appreciate that to truly be successful in the corporate world, all elements of the organization must be in sync. Just to be good at one core element in itself will not guarantee success, as we're living in an incredibly diverse and eclectic world. I know at the university I've worked with highly educated individuals. As I say, many of them have got more degrees than a thermometer, but they're very deep in the space, and outside that space they flounder. Monash, I've got no doubt, would have been able to have held conversations with anyone. And the love that his troops had for him was an indication of that. Modern leaders today could take a leaf out of Monash and be able to appreciate that when you're developing programs to achieve outcomes, the first thing you must know is A, is it the right question? And B, as a leader, are you eclectic enough and diverse enough to seek and absorb alternate opinions and ideas? And linking back to one of the first books I reviewed, 5 Minds for the Future, that really is the art of synergy, the art of bringing all these elements together. Monash is an exemplar of that and something worth considering and worth studying. To add to the conversation, I've also embedded in this book review a brief outline by a fellow called the History Guy, who's very effective, who talks about Monash and his experience, but he also touches on the nature of combined arms. I felt that would be valuable for all of you to get more of an insight. History is a really good way we can learn on how we can invent the future. And I think Monash is a very good keystone upon which leaders today, managers of the 21st century, can learn how to defeat and move forward in ways that others would probably be challenged by. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this brief review. Have a look at the video that will be embedded under this. And I strongly recommend you having a look at this book. I think as leaders in corporate Australia, it's definitely worth considering. All the best. Cheers.